Shalom, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Yashav Ministries with Casa Yashav. Thank you for being there. We're back with the weekly Torah Portions. It's been a couple of weeks that I have not been able to record, but today we're going to do Torah Portion Bo in the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus, and we're in the middle of the culmination of this confrontation that God is having with Pharaoh. And using Moses as that image and that mediator to bring forth not only what is in Pharaoh's heart, but also what the people of Israel need to learn, and us as believers have to learn from Pharaoh, which is a stubborn heart to God's instruction can lead to destructions. And so it's very important to understand the concept of leadership that is spoken in this portion and the level of relevance it has in the standard of those that have confessed their faith to God and have accepted Yeshua as their Lord and Savior. It is very important to learn from Pharaoh, and it's very important to learn from Moses and the dynamic and the interactions that are being expressed and brought forth in the story of Exodus, and especially in week of the Torah Portion of Bo. So we are going to get started and let's see where we end. Torah Portion Bo, which means enter, is in Exodus 10 verse 1 to Exodus 13 verse 16. The Haftarah, the prophet's portion, is Jeremiah 46 verses 13 to 28, and the Brit Hadashah, New Testament portion, is Romans 9 verses 14 to 29. Before we get started, let's do the Torah blessing. Baruch Adonai Haorah, Hu Adonai Haorah Olam Ba'et, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amin, Benatan Lanu Et Torato, Baruch Adonai Noten HaTorah. Blessed Adonai who is blessed. Blessed be Adonai who is blessed now and for all eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign, ruler of the universe, who has chosen us from among all the nations and given us the Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, provider of the Torah. Amen. So, last week's Torah portion by Eda reported how Pharaoh refused to listen to Moses' plead for Israel's freedom. Despite 7 devastating plagues that came upon Egypt in God's name, in this week's portion, Bo, the battle between God and Pharaoh, comes to a dramatic conclusion. The last 3 of the 10 plagues are unleashed upon Egypt. A swarm of locusts devour all crops and greenery. A palpable darkness involved the land for 3 days and 3 nights. And all the firstborn of Egypt were killed at the stroke of midnight of the 15th of the month, Nisan. It says, Exodus 10, verses 1 through 3. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the hearts of his officials, so that I may perform these signs of mine among them, that you may tell your children and grandchildren how I dealt harshly with the Egyptians, and how I performed my signs among them, and that you may know that I am the Lord." So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said to him, "This is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says. How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go and worship, so that they may worship me." So it is very important to understand that here what is being highlighted is this culmination and confrontation between God and Pharaoh, and how it is essential for us to recognize that the confrontation that's being had, it is with the character not only of leadership but also of the condition of the people, and how God is saying, "These are my people, and you let them go and be free." Because remember, everything that has started here is because Pharaoh became unjust with the people and forgot Joseph. And he became unjust and forgot the people and Joseph because he was afraid that they will grow numerous and leave and then unite with other people and then come to battle and destroy him. Hence, he decided to start oppressing them. But in this case, God is saying you have been unjust. And one of the most important parts of this sequence and these last couple of chapters and the beginning of this confrontation is God saying that he has hardened Pharaoh's heart. And for the complete, I think, historical and technical definitions and mindset of this, you can watch in this channel, Torah Portion by Ara and Torah Portion from past years. And the explanation is literal, meaning there is a judgment upon Pharaoh and his culture, where his heart is weighed with the feather of Ma'at, meaning Ma'at represents order. Pharaoh's heart has to be lighter than Ma'at's feather, meaning that Pharaoh is a just and righteous leader and is bringing forth peace and prosperity to the kingdom. And God is saying, you have oppressed my people. And in the process of oppressing my people, as we will read, you have oppressed yours because of your ego. And so one of the most important words I have, or elements of the book of Exodus and Shemot with Pharaoh, is his ego. The destruction of the ego of Pharaoh is a representation of the ego of men. Exodus 10 continues, says, if you refuse to let them go, I will bring locusts into your country tomorrow. They will cover the face of the ground so that it cannot be seen. They will devour what little you have left after the hail, including every tree that is growing in your fields. They will fill your houses and those of all of your officials, all the Egyptians, something neither your parents nor your ancestors have ever seen from the day they settled in this land till now. Then Moses turned and left Pharaoh. Pharaoh's officials said to him, how long will this man be a snare to us? Let the people go, so that they may worship the Lord their God. Do you not yet realize that Egypt is ruined? Then Moses and Aaron were brought up back to Pharaoh. Go worship the Lord your God, he said. But tell me, who will be going? Moses answered, we will go with our young and with our old, with our sons and with our daughters, and with our flocks and with our herds, because we are to celebrate a festival to the Lord. Pharaoh said, the Lord be with you. If I let you go along with your women and your children, clearly you are bent on evil. No, have only the men and go worship the Lord, since that's what you have been asking for. Then Moses and Aaron were driven out to Pharaoh's presence. And the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand over Egypt, so that locusts swarm over the land and devour everything growing in the fields, everything left by hail. So Moses stretched out his staff over Egypt, and the Lord made an east wind blow across the land all the day and all the night. By morning the wind had brought the locusts. They have invaded all Egypt and settled down in every area of the country in great numbers. Never before had there been such a plague of locusts, nor will there ever be again. They covered all the ground until it was black. They devoured all that was left after the hail, everything growing in the fields and the fruit on the trees. Nothing green remained on the tree or plant in all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh quickly summoned Moses and Aaron and said, I have sinned against the Lord, your God, and against you. Now forgive my sin once more and pray to the Lord your God to take this deadly plague away from me. Now, this is going to be important because we're going to break down what we have read, because we're going to stick to chapter 10. It continues to chapter 13. We have also spoken before about the process of Passover and remembrance, and that is essential to the concept of that, what God is trying to show to us, right? What's happening in this book was for the children of Israel to remember and never forget what the Lord did to Pharaoh and to his character, so that they will never forget and repeat it themselves. And so in Exodus 10, we see this structure over here. We have Pharaoh is confronted again and again, right? You see he repents, right? And God tells him, how long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Pharaoh's greatness is built on control, status, fear, and resistance to God's voice. Even as Egypt collapses with locusts and darkness, Pharaoh negotiates instead of repenting. offers partial obedience. All of this is to protect his image at all costs. So as a leader, Pharaoh is trying to find peace for himself, but in a selfish, self-centered, seeking way, which is destroying everything else. As he says, I'm sorry, that moment of forgiveness that is brought to him out of mercy, the moment that he decides to turn his face away from God once again, now the ones that pay for it are the people. The ones that pay for it are his people. His people are saying, when are you going to let the people go? I thought this was about the kingdom. I thought this was about our pride and our dynasty and our culture. And it has become about you against God. And it's obvious that he is greater. Let them go. And so Pharaoh in this example is demonstrating what men have struggled with his ego and ignorance in the face of power and influence and success. Because once you have 1, 2, or 3 times of success in life, and you have been in a level of dominance or in a level of control, the moment that God reveals to you that it is time for you to let go of that because you have let yourself be consumed by it, it is hard for men to humble himself and submit themselves to the Lord. And so it is important to see what the Lord is revealing to us through Pharaoh. Now, let's go to Luke. Luke 22 says, this is after the Passover, after the meal. A dispute also arose among them as to which of them was considered to be the greatest. Jesus, Yeshua, said to them, the kings of the Gentile lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you are not to be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest, and the one who rules like one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I am among you as one who serves. You are those who have stood by me in my trials, and I confer on you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one on me, so that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. This is important because now the contrast is key. The disciples are no longer in Egypt, but Egypt is still in their thinking. They imagine the kingdom as thrones, ranks, status, visibility. And Yeshua, our Messiah, confronts these mindsets directly. Exodus says, power that refuses to humble itself will be broken. Luke 22 says, authority that humbles itself will be entrusted with the kingdom. Pharaoh hardens his heart and darkness falls. Yeshua humbles himself and light is given. Pharaoh clung to greatness and lost his kingdom. Yeshua, our Messiah, chose service and received an everlasting one. Exodus shows us what happens when leaders refuse to serve. And Luke shows us what happens when servants are entrusted to lead. So, what do I want to say with this short video for this week? We have been given a responsibility. Pharaoh is the example that we should not follow, but that we should always learn and never forget. Remember, before the blood of the Lamb was put on the post, before the people of Israel were redeemed, they were demonstrated how a man's ego and pride, to make sure that he doesn't lose, to make sure that he doesn't look as if he failed, can consume And the moment that you decide to not humble yourself, your pride and your ego will be bursted by the Lord. So remember, if you have accepted Yeshua our Messiah, if you have accepted his Father as the one that has raised him from the dead, and so if you believe so, he will raise you too, that faith is going to give you access to the face of the Father, is going to give you access to his ear. And may the Lord find favor in us, and we might find favor in his eyes. But it says, as we have concluded here, let's repeat it. Exodus shows us what happens when leaders refuse to serve. Luke shows us what happens when servants are entrusted to lead. Pharaoh clung to greatness and lost his kingdom. Yeshua chose service and received an everlasting kingdom. And he says, my disciples, if I am in you and you are in me, then you are truly my disciples. So don't forget, don't get distracted. Don't be submitted by your own desires. Humble yourself and follow the Lord. That's all I have for this week. Have a great week. Shavua Tov and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.